Wait, hey, hey.
How y'all doing? Take a seat. Think maybe I gotta hit a button. Testing 1, 2, oh, there we go. How did the Year of Defender go in there, Mike? Year of the Defender. I guess I'm going on stage. I gotta remember what I'm doing. There's a lot of moving pieces here. We got a nice MC up here that's gonna say a lot of great stuff. Before she begins, I like to say thank you. You know, thank you for all the hard work you've been doing. We're gonna show you a video that kind of sums up some of the things we've been working on. Well, you've been working on, because you all have been here longer than I have, throughout the year. So it's gonna be a year in review type video. So we get a chance to highlight some of the great things. So as the wing commander here, I know you all do a lot of things, supporting a lot of great missions. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to extend a big thank you. We're going into the holiday season now. I know a lot of you are going to be in the wind, going out and visiting people. We also want to wish you safe travels while you're out there. And we're going to have a wrap-up slide that kind of talks about safety with your travel going up. But I like to start and end with thank you. So from all the folks from the Mission Support Group, Wing Staff Agencies, and also for our Med Group, I do want to just thank you for the customer support that you provide to all of our customers. I'm out interacting with a lot of the mission partners, and they have nothing but great things to say about the work that you all have been doing. So that really warms my heart to be the commander here, because you represent the installation well. And with that, we're going to have an opportunity to bring some people up on stage and say thank you. So I will turn it over to our MC for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, today Colonel Adams and Chief Cole will recognize some of the 628th Air Base Wing.
Come on up there, partner.
These members are being recognized for their outstanding support during Hurricane Florence. Will the following personnel please come to the stage when your name is called? From the Civil Engineering Squadron, First Lieutenant Brett Beatty.
Woo! All right. All right, Adam. Ain't no joke. Hey, thank you. Great job. I appreciate it, okay? All right. Hey, congratulations. Thank you. Whoa, yeah. Congratulations. Thank you. Great job. How you doing today?
Thank you.
All right, great job. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Huh?
Thank you, sir.
Hey, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, round of applause for those folks. So we took an opportunity to thank them. I think we did this before, and some of the folks were present, so we want to make sure we congratulate them all in front of you all. Because that was a heavy lift. As you remember, it was kind of like my first day on the job. Dealing with Florence, and a lot of people did a lot of great work, and I also just wanted to say for the entire wing, the people who stayed back, that didn't go on their hurricane, thank you. Big thanks for all of you, and for those of you who did go on your hurricane, I know we're trying to make sure everybody got paid, so the Comptroller Squadron is still trying to make sure everybody gets paid, because I know we do have a couple of stragglers out there that haven't gotten paid yet. All right, so with this, I think, so Blaze, now I can talk about, so first, before, is the music person here? All right, so you know what you got to do before we end, right? All right, perfect. All right. So with that, what we want to do for this commander's call is have an opportunity to talk about suicide and suicide prevention. The numbers are very high, and I know earlier we talked about just one is too many. And right now, the Air Force has about 94 suicides, and that was as of the end of November. So that number is way too high for our leadership and for the Department of Defense. That number includes some people who are like the civilians, all the folks who are on active duty, and also our total first, our Guard and Reserves. The active duty personnel is about 55. And in some ways, that kind of highlights just the strain that we have on the force. We talked about contributing factors earlier about what things could be contributing to suicide. And as you all know, there could be a lot of factors. When we look at some of the trends, it's relationships. Contributing factors also could be drugs and alcohol. Those are the things that we kind of see that trend. But it also hits all kind of demographics. It may skew toward the side of our younger enlisted force, but it's not just all of those individuals who are susceptible to suicide. And when I'm looking at numbers, it ranges from colonels to chiefs, all the way up and down the chain of command, there are people who are committing suicide. So, and that includes general officers as well. So I'll say nobody's immune to this. The thing what we need to do is what is going to be our response as men and women of the 628th and as of Joint Base Charleston. So what I would like to do is create an environment of connectedness to where we all feel a part of a family. And I know this family word and this love word means different things for different people. But I would say we owe it to ourselves to try to create more connectedness. And I don't mean just connected in social media. I mean an opportunity to look somebody in the eyeballs and ask them questions about how they're doing. More so than just being something trivial as you say, how you doing and keep walking by, but when you actually stop and listen to the answer. Because somewhere over time we've got to how you doing as like a greeting, but not really a greeting of concern. It's just something you say like hello. And I'd like for you to look somebody in the eyeball, ask them how they're doing, and wait for a response. We have to do something different if we want to make a difference, right? We can't just continue to do the same things and expecting different results. So right now, if I see those numbers being high, what is my responsibility? What should I do? I think within my first month, there were like 3 attempts that I had here in this job, right? So well, we're not counting attempts when we talk about that 94 number, that 55 number. There are people who are making the attempts too, or an ideation, they're doing something. And though that is concerning, it was concerning of me being a new commander as what was I walking into as far as the culture and the environment. We may not be able to know what's in somebody's head or brain to be able to have that kind of conversation, but I'm going to ask you to have uncomfortable conversations. If you see something that doesn't look good or look right to you, I think culturally we've gotten to a point to where we choose not to have those uncomfortable situations. And that could be problematic because it should be or could be the thing that could be preventative, right? So if you think you're getting into somebody's space or getting into that business and you shy away from that, I'm going to ask you to lean forward into their business. Because it could be the one thing that saves their life. It could be the one thing that makes a difference. So we got Chief Riddle here and also Ms. Pam Keller, who's going to share 2 stories. I think earlier today, Chief mentioned it too, is that he would rather make somebody feel uncomfortable than go to their funeral. And he's going to talk about his experiences that he's seen while he was here and across his career. And then we have a parent that's here. And I had an opportunity to meet her within my first month. And what they're going to do is share their stories. I think both of those stories, from my standpoint, were very powerful. They kind of illuminate some things that I didn't even think about as a commander. So, Command Master Chief, we'd like for you to come up and to share your story. I don't know, at least we got the microphone over there.
Hey, Colonel. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. It's an unfortunate topic we have to talk about. And even some of you are probably thinking, man, I'm really trying to talk about it. Well, you know what? As long as we keep having this problem, we're going to keep talking about it. And you know, Colonel was telling you the numbers, and that number's too high. Well, between you and me, if the number is 1, that's too high. And I'm sure all of us in our lives, most of us anyway, have known somebody or known of someone who has committed suicide. And I'm no different than anybody else in that respect. I've known several people who have committed suicide over my now 48 years. But it was my last tour in the Navy, my command tour here in Charleston, where I had 2 incidents that affected me the most and still affect me today. So the first I'll tell you about is a gentleman named Rob. Rob and I got to know each other very well when I was on my last submarine as a senior enlisted leader there. Rob was our ship's corpsman. And you know, everybody knows Doc. You know, there's only one on board of a submarine, so everybody gets to know the Doc. And during my tour there, I got to watch him be promoted to Chief Petty Officer, or E7, which was great for him and great for the ship because he was doing a great job. And he had some things going on in his personal life. He'd gone through a divorce, you know, which wasn't great for him. But he got through that okay. He was also Fleet Marine Force corpsman for 2 tours, one in Afghanistan, one in Iraq. He had seen some things there, and he also had a little some PTSD that he was suffering from, and he was dealing with that. So he met a young lady a couple years later, and this was after the tour I had left, and he had transferred. They got really close, and during their relationship, this young lady committed suicide. This was, for Rob, sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, and he started taking his solace in alcohol, and he started drinking a lot. And as you can imagine, when you're drinking a lot and on active duty, those two worlds are going to collide at some point, and for Rob it did. He had an alcohol-related incident, became a problem. So the command, doing what a command should do, encouraged him and helped him get treatment for his alcohol problem and his mental health issues that he was dealing with. And things went well for a while after that. And then he went back to the bottle. He started drinking again. And as a military member, when you have successfully completed alcohol treatment and then have another alcohol-related offense, what's going to happen to you? This is the interactive part. You're going to be asked to leave the military. That's right. You'll be destroyed. Now we're talking about a chief petty officer, an E7, 15 years of service that just flushed down the toilet. So you've got a gentleman suffering from PTSD, a divorce, the loss of a girlfriend to suicide, and now he's discharged from the military, so he continues to spiral down that alcohol nightmare. And culminating with, he ended up back in Pawleys Island, South Carolina, where he's from. He knew that I was living in Charleston at this point, and he called me one day and he said, I hadn't talked to him in 5 years. But he called me one day and he said, I'm thinking about hurting myself. So I immediately tell my commanding officer, Captain Lott, what was going on, and I jumped in my truck and I drove up to Pawleys Island, South Carolina. And he was staying in a hotel room. He'd been there for weeks. He had most of his belongings in the room and in his car. And his mother and brother had kicked him out of the house because of his alcohol issues, so now he had nothing. And it wasn't me. And so I find him in this hotel room laying in a pool of his own urine and feces, because he had been so drunk that he couldn't even get out of bed for days. So I clean him up, get him in my truck, get his belongings out of the room, out of his vehicle, pack his belongings into a storage unit, and drive him to Charleston. It's taking hours, because he was a sports memorabilia collector and dealer. There was a lot of stuff. He's passed out in my truck the entire time. That drunk. So I drive him, do all that, drive him to Charleston. I'm going to take him to the Ralph Johnson VA Hospital downtown. We get to the parking lot when he finally wakes up and realizes what's happening and where he's going, and he's not a fan of it. There's a struggle, which culminated in me having to actually knock him out, put him in a wheelchair to get him to the hospital. But he was not going to do anything to get treatment that day. A few weeks go by, he checks himself out, ends up in Conway, South Carolina, in another hotel, gets in trouble with the police and calls me again. I come get him again, and this time I bring help. I've been talking with the Wounded Warrior Regiment out of Jacksonville. One of their Marine Corps E8s comes up and meets me. We get him in this guy's car, and he drives him to Philadelphia to the VA, the big VA alcohol rehab facility in Philadelphia. He checks out of there a few weeks later, goes back to business as usual, drinking. He ends up back in South Carolina and drank himself to death. Literally. Died in a hotel room in Pawleys Island, South Carolina, from alcohol. Nothing but alcohol. That death was not classified as a suicide. Make no mistake, that was a suicide. He drank himself to death from all the things culminating with him getting discharged from the military and his girlfriend also committing suicide. So that's a tough pill to swallow as a friend. I didn't do enough. That's what I live with every day, is I did not do enough for him to still be. His mother and his brother did not do enough. The Wounded Warrior Regiment, we did not do enough and keep track of them enough to prevent that from happening. So that's my cross to bear, and it's something I think about every day. About a little over 3 years ago now, in October 2015, I've been in my command tour for about 5 months here in Charleston, and had a young sailor who went UA. This particular sailor, he was number 2 in his class, doing very well, just couldn't take it anymore and took off. When he gets back, he turns himself in a few days later. He tells us he was on his way to Glacier National Park in Montana to hang out for a while. Makes it all the way to Iowa, decides it's a bad idea, and turns around and comes back to his credit. So when he gets back, clearly he's got some issues going on, so we get him the help that he needs to make sure he's in treatment. And then being a military member who was UA, he gets held accountable for his actions. Captain's mast, and he gets reduced in rank and removed from the program. And we make sure that he still is continuing to get the treatment that he needs. I see this sailor 2 or 3 times every week in passing. I stop, have a conversation with him, ask him how he's doing, making sure everything's going all right. 100% of the time, smile on his face, I'm doing great. The treatments are really helping. All the time during these weeks of these interactions, he's lying to me because he had not gone to any of his appointments. Now, what happens if you miss a dental appointment? Who gets called within 5 minutes? Your boss, right? Or if you miss a medical appointment. You miss a mental health appointment, nobody calls anybody. Because it's private. I will never understand that, and hopefully that is not the case anymore. Because that's his travesty. Because none of us knew that he wasn't going to his appointments. So he ends up going UA again, texts one of his buddies and says he's going on a grand adventure. He's going to go see all the places in the country he always wanted to see. Now, if not that and alone is a sign, right? That's a red flag. Hey, I'm going on a grand adventure. Does his buddy tell anybody this? No. During his time away, he's texting his mother frequently, texting a friend of his in Virginia who's also a sailor, and painting a crystal clear picture of his plan. So I got to read all the text messages that he was sending a few weeks later. Painted a crystal clear picture down to the detail of how he was going to take his life. Nobody tells a soul. This sailor doesn't tell anybody. His mother doesn't tell anybody. Now, a few weeks go by. He ends up back in Charleston. His roommates know he's back, who are also 2 sailors. They tell no one that he's back, thinking they're looking out for their buddy. He returned to Charleston on a Thursday. His mother called me on Tuesday and told me that he was back in Charleston and he planned to turn himself in. So I try to call this young sailor. He doesn't answer his phone. I call his roommates. They said, yeah, we think he's here. His car is outside, but his door to his room is locked. We haven't seen him for a couple days. Again, they told no one that he'd been locked in his room for days. So I immediately assumed the worst. I think, well, the sailor's dead. So I call the police. I have them meet me at his apartment. While I was en route to his apartment, the XO calls the roommates and says, the CMC and the cops are on their way to come check on the sailor. The 2 roommates now, the great shipmates they've been so far, they yell through the door, again, I guess looking out for their buddy, hey, the CMC and the cops are on the way. And it was about 2 minutes later when they heard the gunshot. This sailor had gone out and purchased a .38 revolver and 1 bullet for this purpose. So about 1 or 2 minutes before myself and the cops walk into the apartment, he put that .38 revolver under his chin and pulled the trigger. So the cops and I bust into his room. The gunpowder is still in the air. You can see it and smell it. And he's staring at us laying on the bed with his eyes wide open and his skull split in half. To this day, when I hear the word suicide, what I see is that sailor laying on his bed with his eyes wide open and his skull split in half. And I smell the gunpowder. If you think that suicide is the easy way out, yeah, it is for the person maybe, but the damage and the collateral damage and the mayhem that it's left behind is ridiculous. It's the most selfish act a human being could ever perform is to take their own life. There were red flags everywhere. Nobody took action. You know, as commanders and senior enlisted leaders, we're charged with looking out for you, protecting our people. And I want to tell you, you are going to know a long time before me or your commander that she has a problem. It's on you. None of us get a pass. We as human beings have to look out for each other. That's the only way this is ever going to stop, is when you look out for each other. When you, as the Colonel said, have that uncomfortable conversation and maybe lose a friend. Again, way better than attending a funeral. It's our responsibility as humans to take action when another human being is in distress. Not to pick on them because they're different and drive them further down the hole. I had to escort this sailor's body home to Oregon. His parents don't even meet the body at the airport. Nor did they meet the body at the funeral home 3 hours away that we had to drive to. I don't see the parents until the service. And the only thing this father of this sailor has to say is, "Effing Navy, where are my smokes?" Literally the only words he spoke. So seeing where this sailor came from and the kind of support he had, and learning that he had issues before even coming into the Navy that weren't divulged when he came to the Navy. The reason why I bring that point up is you literally never know what the person sitting right next to you is meant to do. You don't know. And this might just be the last chance the person sitting next to you has in your life. And we can't screw it up. We have to take action. You need to take action. Thank you for your time.
All right. So a powerful story and a powerful message, and he's been with us all morning. So this is the third time that he's kind of delivered these comments. In some ways, it just highlights, one sailor's story. And one thing that I hadn't mentioned after he's spoken is that in his first story, you kind of see that once a sailor, always a sailor. The sailor was out, and he's reaching back to somebody to get help. That's what we want to do, right, is to create bonds and friendships inside the military that people can reach back and call people when they need the assistance. That's the type of leader he was. I mean, he made an impact on this sailor that he felt comfortable enough calling. So the question will be to you, what impact are you making? What impact are you making with your teams? Are you that leader or that friend that somebody, 1 month, 2 months, 5 years will reach back and pick up the phone and call you when they need something? That's the kind of environment we as airmen, as sailors, have to establish. And that's what this connectedness is, this love. When I first came in, we talked about lifting, loving, and listening to people. Those are going to be the three things I'm just going to keep as themes because they're very important. Sit down and have a conversation with somebody, to lift them up and to show them that you care and that you love them. And that can be challenging at times, and just like the family that you have, maybe at home or extended family, it's not all going to be, rosiness. There's friction points that take place when you love somebody. And those are things that we have to just challenge ourselves to do. Don't shy away from the tough problems, because the tough problems, the tough conversation could save someone's life. Upon my first month, like I mentioned to you, had an opportunity to go to an event that honored our fallen heroes. And upon my arrival, and as I was being briefed, I thought this was an opportunity to have a conversation about people who lost their lives, like when they were deployed or in service in some type of war. And as I engaged in conversation after that event, I would find that the majority of the parents that I had talked to, I think only of the 5 people I talked to, only one parent had a son or a daughter who lost their life in some type of combat situation. All the rest of them lost their children during suicide. Suicide was probably the number one in that room type of fatality that took place in those airmen's and sailors and soldiers' lives. And the parents have to deal with it. So as CMC kind of mentioned, it is something that affects a lot of different people. So we have Pam, who's going to share a story about her son. She's, again, been with us for this morning, and we had a hearty conversation of it. So I think I spent most of my time in this type of reception after that event, talking to her about what she had done and what she was doing. And one of the things we talked about, and I promised her there was an opportunity to bring her back to have a conversation with anybody in the wing or a broader audience, that I would do that. And as you can imagine, if you're a parent, having the strength to get in front of people and talk about something like suicide that happened to your family. So she's done that today, and we talked about communication and conversation, and also hugs are part of a healing process. So we have a military member who's spoken to you. Ma'am, I'd like you to come and take the stage and share your story. And like we've discussed and talked about it before, we're going to start with a hug. Well, thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ma'am, she'd get the microphone for you. Thanks again. So, that's why I need to get up. Go away. Go away. Right away. Okay, good. Because these are approved, I don't think I can give them out. But I need to give my own personal coin.
Good afternoon. It is a great honor and privilege to be here this afternoon with all of you. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for your service, your sacrifice, and your heart for our country. You are all our nation's heroes, and each one of you is important to me. I'd also like to thank Colonel Adams for his request to be here and be part of his commander's call and suicide prevention. We all have a story to tell, and I am here to share my story with you. Most of us think that we are immune to a lot of things in life, and that thing would never happen to me, to my family, or to anybody actually that I know. As a military family, I truly thought that we were immune to the idea of suicide. I just never, ever thought about it. Never in a billion years would I have thought it could happen to us. But it did. 8 years ago, I lost my only child, Aaron, to suicide. He was a commander, a CB in the Navy for almost 18 years. He was a man of faith. He loved serving his country, being a husband to his wife, Jen, and a father to his daughter, Olivia Jane. She turned 6, and 3 weeks later, her daddy was gone. Through the NCIS investigation into Aaron's death, it was discovered that there were some red flags, actually quite a few red flags. Excuse me. The answers he was giving to the questions asked of him were not lining up or making any sense. People walked away, scratching their heads, saying, "Oh well, it's the commander, so it's okay, and it's got to make sense." But it really didn't make any sense. I tell you about these red flags for a reason. I would ask each of you to put on your night vision glasses and see the enemy that's in your camp. The enemy of pride, self-focus, and self-preservation. I would ask you to open your ears and open your eyes to see what's going on all around you and with your teammates. If you see something, say something. Reach out to a family member, a coworker, a friend. Ask questions, and then really listen to the answers given. My son Aaron was in total crisis and reached out to no one. He was depressed, had lost 30 pounds, threw away pictures, medals, clothes, and his daughter even caught him a couple times crying. And she asked him, "Daddy, you're crying." And he was like, "Oh, no, no, no." She's like, "Daddy, you have tears." And he said, "It's okay, Olivia, it's okay." All the while he told his wife he really was getting better. It was just going to take some time. My son Aaron used to always say, "Character still counts." And on every classic vehicle that he restored, he would have that detail on his back window. And for quite a number of years, I had that on the vehicles that I drove. And your character, your integrity does count. It makes a huge difference to you, your teammates, to your family, your communities, and most of all to our country. He enjoyed mentoring many junior officers and encouraging them to be more and do more. I found this list in one of his many notebooks. Be a leader every day. Balance your life. Manage your career. Open your professional aperture. Embrace change. Pursue an agenda. Add value. Compete with yourself and not your peers. Have a mentor and be a mentor. Be a leader every day. There is a ripple effect to losing a veteran to suicide. The aftermath not only affects the immediate family, but also friends, neighbors, communities, and finally, our nation. A parent should never outlive their child, and I am here to share the legacy that he should be living. It is not a negative thing or a sign of weakness to show compassion, to be kind, to be considerate, and show some emotion. In fact, it takes courage to admit that something is off, something is broken, something is bothering you, and to seek out the appropriate care. There are people in place that care and are ready to listen and work with you. My son Aaron found relief from his pain and torment and suffering, but it could have ended very differently. His death was not in vain. His death, my loss, does count for something. It has given me the opportunity to possibly help save a life, and for this I am very grateful. Aaron lived a really great life. and he will never be forgotten. Christmas is right around the corner, and in Boise, Idaho, there is an empty stocking hanging on the fireplace, and a teenage girl without a father. A new year is about to begin, and my son is not here to enjoy its promise. Restore another classic car, grow old with his wife, or watch and listen to his daughter plan of someday becoming a doctor. Thank you all very much for hearing my heart. This is something that I've really wanted to do for 8 years. So we do have the power. You guys have the power to make a difference. The suicide does need to stop. And I just charge you all with that. And I thank you for this opportunity. And he does make a way where there seems to be no way. So God bless you. Thank you.
Hugs again. Thank you.
Thank you. Really healing.
I know. So she mentioned earlier that every time she talks and tries to talk about her son, it is a healing process for her. So I want to thank you for your strength, ma'am, to get up and make that type of presentation. I know it came from your heart. So to echo her words, it was, pretty much, open your ears and your eyes to see things around you, and I also ask you to open your hearts as well, because I think the heart piece is going to be the action that you need to take. If you see this program up here, it is the action part, right? It is the part that gets at, you doing something, right? ACE, being able to go out and ask somebody, what's going on, do you need anything? Because that's that first step in there, is engaging and asking a question, so then you can kind of listen. And then they bring on this care part. That's this love action of trying to do something about it. And that means that you need to escort them somewhere, then take that action as well. It is an important part of the things that we do, because as both of the speakers talked to, that suicide needs to stop. And if it's just one, then the one is too many. So if you will, give a round of applause for both of our speakers who came in today. So I brought in a teammate to help me with suicides, with enlisted force development, with all the things that we need to do to mentoring, me and the mentoring squadron commanders to make sure that we know what we're doing when it comes to looking out for our force. And that's Chief Michael Cole, coming in from Hawaii. He's already done this job as being a command chief already. So this is the second command chief job he's going to have. So since it's my first wing command job, I'm the one that's getting tutored here. He's teaching me the things that I need to do and keep me on the right track. He has a lot of great ideas. He's going to come in, and you can kind of tell from his leadership style from the beginning of this, and instill some discipline. And he's here to introduce himself, to tell you what he's about, and to give you his priorities. He has been at in Hickam, which is a joint base as well, lead. So he brings the Navy experience, and I think being the experience on the supported side. So now he has an opportunity to support others. And that was one of the reasons that I hired him, is because he has that background and that ability. He comes to us from an environment upon which if somebody was not supporting him the right way to execute his mission, then I don't believe he's going to do that to the Navy partners or the Army partners that we have here in Joint Base Charleston, because he lived it. And he can be able to tell you some of the stories, and a lot of them probably not good stories. So I think when you've seen it bad, you want to make it better. And we brought him in so he can make it better. So Chief Cole, over to you to introduce. Congratulations.
Okay, appreciate you.
Yeah.
First, just want to say thanks to Colonel Adams for giving me this awesome opportunity to come help them lead the men and women of the 628. Appreciate that. Just kind of give you a rundown how it happened. I'm TDY to DC. He sent me an email, hey Chief, I want to hook up. He said, well, BTC's going to do an interview. Getting back, hey sir, well, don't know if I can get the BTC capabilities here. Get me back immediately. Great, I will be there tomorrow. I land at 5, meet me at the hotel at 5:30. So we sat and we chatted Colonel Adams for about an hour and a half. And we And it was so cool because I went out, because that wasn't a TDY I planned on having interviews. So I went out and bought a brand new pair of shoes. I didn't tell you this though. With a brand new pair of shoes, brought some slacks and a shirt, and really didn't need it because of his personality. I figured out what kind of guy he was. So thank you for that. I also want to thank our Navy partners on here, CMC Lonsdale and Captain Byrne, are not able to attend. But also you, Chief Patrick, I forgot to recognize you earlier, but from day one when I found out I had the assignment, you started emailing me, and so the day I got here, we kind of crossed paths and we talked more than we should probably, but I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your leadership. But about me, started off this journey 27 years ago. I was a C-130 crew chief on Herbert Field, PCS a couple times, pretty much every major C-130 base we have. Ended up at Little Rock and ran into, just when we still had chiefs as first sergeant. He said, hey Mike, when you make master, when you so on, I want you to be a first sergeant. I was like, yep, gotcha, chief, that's what I want to do. Kind of cool for the business process. So did that for a while, PCS, up to Andrew, still took my diamond off and back to maintenance, PCS a couple more times. Then made the command chief list and ended up at Hickam, as Colonel Adams had mentioned. But as far as my leadership style, I kind of look back to when I was a first sergeant. I'm big into discipline. I'm big into customs and courtesies. I'm big into standards. And I feel that a well-disciplined trained force is a happy force, right? Without a doubt. There's no question where your leadership comes from. But that takes all of us. We have to police ourselves. We can't wait for the old crescent chief or the first sergeant or commander to correct us, right? We have to do it on our own. Personality-wise, I'm a clown. I'll be the first to tell you I want to have fun. I like to cut up. We do it all day. Where you at, Miss B? Yep. Miss David Carr, secretary. So we just cut up. We have a good time. I'm an open book, very transparent. I don't do anything behind the scenes. I said it earlier. Obviously I advise Colonel Adams, but every decision I make, every time I advise him, it's on behalf of all the chiefs, commanders. We sit down, and that's what I like to do, and kind of get their inputs before I make any kind of recommendation to Colonel Adams. Hobbies for me, I like riding motorcycles. Who has a motorcycle? Okay, so I did the dumbest thing before I left Hickam. I already had a motorcycle, I had a cruiser, and then I don't know if I hit a midlife crisis. I woke up one day, I didn't take it from Adams, like 2 weeks before PCS, and I went and brought a brand new bike. So it is still in Hickam waiting to get shipped over here. So just watching these folks drive around here, I do not know how much I'm going to be riding. My daughter and I always drive when we first got here, and these guys are crazy, so I don't know how you guys and girls survive it every day. But like I said, like Colonel Adams said, coming from Hickam, I saw the bad side of the coin. You know, we were supported by the Navy. We were not given the opportunities. We weren't given the facilities. We weren't given the money that we needed to successfully complete our mission. So I see that, and I will never, never, never let that happen to anyone we support in this installation. So just know that if there's any Navy out there or Army, if you're not, it doesn't matter. I'm going to give you the same love and care that I am for our airmen. And extremely excited. You know, this is awesome for me. I had a couple job interviews before I got this, and I was telling Colonel Adams in the car today, I was like, please, 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 I don't want that job. And I didn't get that job, but I got the one that I really wanted. I've heard nothing but great things about you guys and girls here at Charleston, but I did hear, Chief, you're going to gain 20 pounds when you get there. And I haven't eaten a lot. But every morning about 5:15, 5:30, you will see me at the gym. So if you see me, just stop and shake my hand or talk. And yes, if you see me in the commissary DX, you can do the same. Also like riding road bikes. I like bicycling, so in case we're going outside, you'll probably see me trekking around the days, or I don't know if I'm going to go out on Dorchester. I'm not that brave yet, but I'll be out about doing that. My priorities, personal priorities. First, let me get to my philosophy. My philosophy is I work for everyone in this building. Nobody works for me. There's only one person on this installation, I write her EPR, and that is my exec, and I still work for her. That's how I do it. I don't care if you're a chief, I don't care if you're an airman, I don't care if you're a commander, I work for you all. That's what I'm here for. For me, personal goals, personal philosophy as far as leadership, I'm here to do 3 things. Build relationships, ensure readiness, and take care of your families. By building those relationships, I'm out there doing the blocking and tackling, I'm clearing that path so you can effectively complete your job, right? So when it comes to readiness, I need to make sure you have the tools, I need to make sure you have all the resources that you need to be ready to fight, because that's what we're here for. And last but not least, definitely not least, is families. I know, you know, nothing can happen without our families. So we have to make sure we have every resource available, take care of our families, because if you are not running on all cylinders, when you walk into your duty section in the morning, you're not going to be effective, right? So for me, some things I want in return. Very simple. Come to work on time, do your job, and be a professional. That's easy. I think that's very easy. But on the flip side of that, what you're going to get from me, I'm going to be 100% committed. I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to give you every ounce of fuel I have in my tank until I don't have any more. When I run out, I'm going to sit down and take a knee and take a time out. Colonel Adams needs to leave, and I'll recharge, and I'll come back and get it at it again. So just know that I'm going to give you everything I have. I just want to do real quick is kind of tell you a little bit about me. There are going to be plenty of opportunities. I'm going to be out in the wing, out and about, talking, walking, to share some of my leadership styles, my philosophy, professional development. I'm big on that. So, like I said, I like to walk, out and about. I walk your duty sections. I don't want anything. I don't need anything. I'm there to check on you. I'm there to check on your teammates to make sure you have everything you need. And if I'm there, and if you need something, pull me aside, Chief. I need to holler at you. Okay? You also need to know that if we ever have one of those I need to holler at you conversations, it stays between us. I will never go back to your boss, to your commander, and say, Airman so-and-so said this, or Sergeant so-and-so said that. That's not how I do, that's not how I get down, that's not my style. So it will stay between us. I do ask, though, if it's something professionally related, I asked that you run that through your chain of command. But something on the personal side, that will stay between us. But Colonel Adams, like I said, I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me a couple minutes to address your wing. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys around. Thank you.
So can you read this after the video? So Chief, you didn't tell him anything about the hug and the little boy and stuff like that? Like you treat me like your little brother and stuff?
He's a little midget, so he's like my little brother. So if you'll notice, I don't have to get up on the stage and talk.
See?
Colonel Adams does, and I was telling the Navy casters when I was talking to him, he's so small that sometimes I just want to pick him up, put him on my hip, and carry him around like a little baby.
See,
that's what I want to do sometimes, but it's all good.
What should I do with him there, CMC? What should I do with him?
Let him carry you around on his hip.
That's the E9 partnership. Thanks for great words there, Chief. So what we're going to do now is we'll move to our video. So our public affairs team put it together real quick. We want to make sure it's representative for all groups and all the kind of agencies. So hopefully you will see yourself, or at least your unit or your mission in there. Roll that beautiful beam footage.
In fact, Charleston International Airport recorded 5.3 inches of snow.
The C-130 Hercules cargo plane was bound for Arizona when it crashed. It happened about 11:30 this morning.
C-17s are due back at Joint Base Charleston tomorrow. They were evacuated ahead of the storm.
We were prepared for the worst and we were all hoping for the best. And I think we ended up with the best out of the hurricane. All right. So thanks for the PA staff for putting that together, and then also for you for doing all the work. We appreciate all the things that you've done. At this time, we'll talk about just some hot things that we have going on. And you see a plug up here for volunteers. One of the things that I think that we should do a better job at is outreach to the community. And not just outreach like we've probably done it before, to where it's just volunteering and just providing some mentorship. But it's also related to our mission. So I want to try to tie our community engagement, not just lending a helping hand, but also how can the community help us turn this corner around. A lot of the challenges that we find here locally that we deal with, not being able to build a new gym, for example, there is opportunity to have gym membership in your local community, to where you may not necessarily need to come on base to work out, but we can provide a stipend or a voucher for you to work out somewhere else, if our capacities bid. There's a lot of things that we can do through partnership, to where we don't, if there's some commonality between what the outside community needs, if we needed a firing range and they need a firing range, why do we have to build 2 firing ranges, for an example? Where are those things that make sense that we can partner with the community? I asked you to join this team that I want to try to reach out, to find innovative ways to do it. We're probably not going to get a lot of money. So DOD is not going to invest a lot of dollars in these Milcon projects, building these large buildings. In fact, they're even trying to offer incentives for tearing down buildings. You'd be surprised at how many buildings are still up, that there's still some level of upkeep that we have to do, and the millions of dollars we spend just to keep some buildings that we have around. So there's a big, huge effort now to just tear down buildings, because it's going to be more cost-effective in the long term. So we're investing in demolishing. And I just make that point to say we're not going to get a lot of money in the future to do some of the things that we need to do. And we're going to have to find innovative ways to get there. And I would offer to you that I need your help to find those things. I don't have all those great answers you do. So with that being said, we want to have a time to outreach. We're going to bring on some educational leaders around the area in March and have a conversation about the things that we can do from an education standpoint. I would like to have a big kind of military STEM week or month, to where not just Joint Base Charleston, but around the state, we're focused on STEM to get the state's attention. There's a lot of opportunity to get more money for the states and for schools and for other organizations that are responsible for doing STEM. I just think individually, you know, a lot of organizations and military organizations around this area, Spay War, for example, they have robust STEM programs. But I think if we galvanize our efforts together, we have an opportunity to make a more powerful statement. So that's what I would like to do, is to try to bring people together so we can have an impact, and not just impact to get funds. Because I think at the end of the day, most of these schools that are around this area is challenged by the lack of funds that they have. So I want to be a partner with them on that. December is always the month for giving, not just around the holidays and for your loved ones, but also for our combined federal campaign. So we have our POCs that are out, and they should be getting a 100% contact out to your organizations. So if you choose to give, then do that, because that's what we want to do. Kind of talk about holiday safety too. So we're in this winter time now, where safety is going to continue to be, you know, more and more important. We're talking about lights and other things that go on during the holiday season. Be mindful of that. Make sure your commanders are going back and talking to your units. And then also for safe travels, as people are going around doing a lot of different traveling. While I'm talking about safety, I would like an opportunity to recognize some folks that were involved in a safety program and a safety issue that we had. If you are aware, we have our safety office right here, led by Mr. Anderson, who does a great job. But every time there's an incident across AMC, we convene a safety board. And recently there was an incident here that happened with a 135, and we had 2 individuals that went up and led this kind of safety board, and we got a letter from the 4-star that I want her to read. Over to you.
The first letter, to Major Segura, thank you for your superb leadership. And
So you can stand. Good.
thank you for your superb leadership and tireless effort on the KC-135R Class A Training Support Rear Failure Fraction Investigation Board as a flight surgeon member. I appreciate the difficult nature of these tasks and commend your outstanding work. Your leadership and efforts have produced actionable recommendations to improve current and future KC-135 operations. Your findings have helped identify areas of improvement as we strive to prevent future mishaps. Sincerely, General Mariano.
All right. So, Margo, you can stand too. So, our very own leader of our command post, is the letter the same? Is the exact the same? Is the letter exactly the same?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So, we don't have to read the letter again, but we want to thank you for our command post lead there. He led the safety board. So you have to have a lot of skill, some different type of courses checked off. So, when we always nominate people up, it's hard maybe to find someone who has all the kind of backgrounds to actually be the board president. So I know that's a hefty job. It took him out for 2 to 3 months or so to be able to do this and finalize, and he has to go up all the way up to the headquarters and actually brief the 4-star, depending on the level of the incident, what happened with the mishap. So kudos to you for you doing that. I know that was hard for you balancing your current job as doing this, so thank you for your efforts. As we talk aircraft safety, we have an opportunity to have a safe air show. So in 2020, we're going to be hosting the Blue Angels here. So we have the Navy's premier flying organization is going to come to Joint Base Charleston. They are very excited about coming back here because they haven't been here in a decade plus. So we announced this, I think, the first week. One of our commanders went to Vegas to hang out and did like a little air show league there. Well, they always have this annual conference at Vegas where they announce all the different acts. We kind of knew we were getting, but they usually want to wait till they get a big PA push. So around the first week of December is when that was announced. We're going to start our planning early in January of the next year, so we can be prepared for that. If you all were around for the last air show, you know what a heavy lift it is. We want to make sure we're putting our best foot forward and also making sure that we're going to be safe during the execution of the air show. The second week of January, we have General Gordy coming. He's my boss. He's the Expeditionary Center Commander. And he's going to come as his kind of base visit so he can see what goes on around here at Joint Base Charleston. So we're working with protocol. We have a POC that we're pushing out there to make sure we're going to put our best foot forward. For blended retirement, if you're familiar, we did a lot of big rollout campaign for blended retirement, but this month is the last month to opt in. So if you've been teetering on the fence about what you want to do with blended retirement, we got about 2 more weeks before we execute that. We talked about the winter season that we're in right now, and as you all know, I wasn't here, but there was that significant emotional event, the big ice and snowstorm that you all kind of had that closed down the installation in the airport, and there was a lot of energy, I would say, from the community about how fast or how slow you want to look at us opening the airport. We are engaged. We've already had 1 meeting with the Charleston Aviation Authority. I'm calling them, try to have another meeting this week. As you know, you saw in the news over the weekend where that storm kind of went through, North Carolina. We kind of missed us, but we want to be prepared. We want to reach out and have that kind of conversation and what our plan would be early in the year. And we've already started that conversation, had 1 meeting, but I want to just have another phone call or a meeting so we can discuss what's going on with them. I think that's all. Next, we want to turn it over to you all. If you have any questions for me or Chief Cole, so where's the music person? Do we have a slide? I know we had a slide in the last presentation, but come on down. So I think I talked to you all some time ago about starting a band. I think some of you all thought I was playing. We are not. We have our band lead director right here, our lead singer, our vocalist, right? Our lead vocalist, whatever we're gonna call this, right? But I'm serious. I mean, we've talked, and I've talked to different areas. around the nation. We know there's a band over on the Navy side. They have one for their school. They get instruments donated to them from bands that are official bands that are a part of the Navy. So there's a way to do this that's going to be efficient with cost. After the session at 10 o'clock today, found out that Chief Riddle has a band too. So what I want to do is also open this up to retirees as well. But in short, I believe if we had live music here, beginning and during Commander's Call, I think it would bring a different energy to the events that we have. Events that we do from any kind of, from ALS to whatever we have, First Fridays. I would just like to establish a band, and I hope you all would join with me in doing it. I know there's a lot of talented people out here. Some of you all may be shy. And so we can't stay long. My mom is coming in, so I got to pick up my mom at the airport. I think touchdown's around 4:30. But we do want to take time for some questions. So what do you all have? Chief has somebody. Somebody already said roll tide. So who said that? Who's trying to get me for the Auburn, Alabama game? I'm sure somebody, don't be, anybody scared? Who said it? Nobody wants to admit it. Chief, what else we got over there? What's interesting?
Okay, one good one is, can you post these slides/video? How are we going to get this out?
Yeah, so I think we are recording this. PA's right over there, so it's going to be recorded. One of the things when I got here, we talked about, I wanted to do this Facebook Live. So we're probably going to be rolling out doing Facebook Live for Commander's Call, so people can have an opportunity who are on shifts, people who are not here, so they can kind of, we record it. We posted the last one out there. We're going to be a little faster at getting this one out, but we want to make sure that people know. What we didn't know is what was the CMC going to say. So we was like, what is he going to say? So we said we're going to make sure and that we had an opportunity to take a look at this. But we want to put information out in different forms, and we would do that.
Okay, I'm going to open this one up.
So what about the one we got today about why do rabbits fly?
Oh, I know the one about the, there's one about spiders too.
So it's one about like why are rabbits in the Air Force or something like that?
I can't remember.
Or flying, but it was because they want to be in the Air Force. Come on, people. No, hair, see, hair, the other hair, don't worry about it. What you got there, Chief?
This is one I think is very important for us as front office goes. How can we, the squadron, help get things signed faster at the wing?
Probably the problem would be me. I will raise my hand and say I'm probably the slow person in there. Now, what I would say is that text and a lot of things. So right now we have a process that's on autopilot and it goes through TMT. I am not a TMT expert genius or even like it. So what I have suggested, and I will say this out loud, and I think we've done this with somebody. Somebody came to my offering party, right? And everything that he wanted, boom, 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 boom. So I've already told, and I say it again, I've told the squadron commanders, if you want something, and the thing is, who needs to review it? If you do it in, I want to make sure my advisors know, but I'm not about like going through, because what's going to happen is I'm going to have questions, and I'm going to have to send it back to you, and then you have to send it back to me, and it's going to flow through 4 different people to get to you, and it just elongates the process. I would rather you present what you want me to sign, have a conversation about it, I can ask my questions, and I can sign it right there. And we've proved that that works because we've knocked a lot of things out. So that's how I would like to roll. A lot of times people want to roll the same way we've been rolling, and then you want to know why it's slow. So I just told you what I desire. Signing parties. You got something quick, let me know. We can sit down and talk about it. I can ask my question, and we can keep moving. That's how I would like to run the operation. So as the machine changes for it, I think we'll see things going a little faster.
Okay, we got room for one more question. I don't know where this place is at. I'm only here 2 weeks, so you got me. Can we put a road off of a gate off of cross-country road? I don't even know where that's at.
So I think that was probably to get access. So this goes back to traffic. So we've got a question in the second commander's call about traffic on Red Bank Road. So there's a lot of interest in trying to find ways to divert traffic onto the installation. I think somebody else mentioned to me, why can't we open up the commissary gate? Because that would alleviate a lot of traffic turning in early and relieve some of the bottlenecks that we have. So the problem is it's this balance between convenience and also security. Each time that we have access to a gate and create another gate, that's going to be other manpower that we're going to have to use to shift because we're not going to probably close the gate. So it's not the fact of which gate, it's the fact of which gate is more secure. There are a lot of regulations that have come down that have mandated barriers in certain areas. And right now, from a construction project, because that's what we would have to do, is to put barriers in those gates if they become permanent gates, or take the risk of opening those gates without having the necessary security. So that's the reason why I haven't seen what we're talking about as far as the logistics of where. But if it's not a gate there, then it's have to go on the long list. It's not going to rack and stack and prioritize high, and probably won't get funded. But again, if there's already a gate there, then it can go a little faster in the process, because then we're talking about, you know, mitigation of stuff. Cop commander, you're the defender. What do you got?
No, sir, you covered it.
All right. Risk and reward. We do know we want to do things, but it's going to be convenient or security. And as the installation commander here, I'm going to weigh on the side of security. So as we look at the things that happen, I think I got a similar question last commander's call. If it's up to me, we're going to have longer queues and more security. It won't be a faster way to increase more risk on the installation. Probably about 2 or 3 years ago, if I was the wing commander, I would say that. I would, you know, in some ways move convenience over security. But in this current environment, with the national defense strategy that we have now, and with our Secretary of Defense, they have clear guidance about how they want commanders and installation commanders prioritized. And that guidance is on security, not convenience. So if we need to come up with other ways to change work schedules, more telework, whatever we need to do, there's a traffic problem in Charleston. So there's more than one way of looking at this, right? It's when we're talking about the road, Dorchester being backed up of queues to get on the installation. We can come up with alternate things that can make it safe. Additional gates is one thing, but it comes at a tax. And right now, as far as what we got for Defender Manning, we looked at that to try to come up with more gate openings. That's going to be a cost that I don't think right now we're prepared to pay if they continue with the number of deployments that they have. Anybody's bold enough to raise your hand? He wants to get me out because he got here with my mom to beat me up.
You ain't get me beat up.
See?
Getting that.
But I do want to thank you all for all the things that you do. Again, as the new guy in the seat, probably about 3 months, I've seen a lot of phenomenal work. I've seen a lot of people being challenged to do some things that they didn't think they can do and have become very successful. I need you to continue to try to find innovative ways to solve problems. But I do want to go back to our original topic of why we have our guests here. In this season of suicide, I have to ask you, what are you going to do to make a difference? What are each one of you going to do individually to make sure that you're looking somebody in the eye, asking them a question, and then actually waiting for the response? What uncomfortable conversation will you introduce to take care of your fellow airman or sailor? As commanders and as leaders and as airmen, we owe that to the people who work with us and the people who work for us. So again, I ask you to have an uncomfortable conversation that can hopefully lead to you saving someone's life. Enjoy the holidays. I hope that each one of you would go and spend time with your loved ones. I am trying to cancel, you know, all the meetings that I would have, so the squadron commanders and the group commanders won't have to spend time in meetings during this season. They can actually spend time with their loved ones. We want to reduce the things that we're doing over the next couple of weeks so you all can do that. Again, safe travels, happy holidays, and I wish you safe success and a happy new year if I don't see you all. All right, thank you. Carry on. Have a great day.